everyone, this is greyshot17, and I have a discussion for you today. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit different. This brings up a interesting topic in at least Code 2, although you can find it pretty much in any game that you could possibly play in, especially in a multiplayer component, and that is the lack of communication, or at the very least, playing in a game with randoms and not having a direct source of communication. You still have a source, being the chat, but a lot of people choose not to, or they choose to use it against the opponent and just spam a bunch of stuff saying they suck, or, you know, among other things. And the reason I bring this up is because in my recent multiplayer matches with my fans and my core night and other things, you'll have a bunch of people that'll randomly be queuing and they get into a team battle. And then while playing, they then get upset over their teammate not pulling weight or not doing anything. And I find it interesting because usually the people who are complaining the most, at least to me, are the ones that are not doing the best and or are the worst of the team. I say this because I literally had 2 games on the same map back to back where you had someone that would come in, they would complain about their team not pulling weights, and then thereby yell at others saying that they could have done better if with X reason or X person or X unit, and yeah, then they end up quitting, leaving, etc., followed by look at the after action report and you realize that they are by far the worst on their team. So I bring this up because I feel like this is something that everyone runs into. I mean, like, when I do fan games, I prefer people having mics, though again, it's not 100% necessary if you're good at communicating over team chat. And the reason I bring that up is simply because of the fact that usually I just want to make sure that everyone can talk to each other. But even when you talk to someone, that doesn't necessarily mean success. In a recent game, I'm playing a team game, Daxter, who's a fantastic player, is absolutely trashing me. And I am not communicating the fact to my team that I cannot beat this guy, right? I cannot beat Daxter solo because his strategy is better than mine, and I'm fighting in a choke point. It would have been better for me to communicate that and let my team know so I can play some defenses or just fall back from that area and push somewhere else. But I chose not to. And then there's another player on my team who has no mic, has no sense of communication. One of my teammates then starts blaming that player that they're not pulling their weight, even though clearly I'm the one not doing it. And that person probably, even though they did a dumb move here or there, same thing with me, that person's still pushing further out on the map and gaining more territory than I am and contributing more to the overall game, but they just don't communicate or let people know immediately for the instant gratification, be like, hey, I got this, or I got your back. It's just not the case. That person can still hear them, which is a positive about being in Discord while you're still playing. But in a game where you're playing with 4 randoms, you can't hear. You're just typing in chat. And it can be a sense of this player has no idea what they're doing, and it just builds and builds and builds because you have no idea what they're thinking because they don't communicate. And eventually you just get frustrated and leave, or you get frustrated and team kill, or just pull out or do something stupid. I bring this up because I feel like if we're going to other senses in like something real life, it's kind of how I associate someone driving their car in terms of like an angry driver or like road rage. Someone might do something stupid on the road and your immediate thought process is that person is drunk, that person is possibly trying to screw me over, get my insurance, all this stuff. Where in actuality, you have no idea. Like, you can, as much as we were like, oh, we immediately have this thought process of what that person is, that person could simply be having a bad day, or changing something on the radio, or something like that, or having a big crisis in their life, or a personal emergency, and that's why they messed up, or just emotionally wrecked because of something happening. You just don't know. But your immediate thought process is, this person is screwing me over and making the game worse. And that's what happened in a recent Code 2 match. This guy literally kept saying, this person's not pulling their weight. This person is absolutely not doing anything. Specifically calling out the fact he's Asian, which I find entirely dumb, stupid, and absolutely repulsive, because specifically the fact that, and it's not just one match, it's been a lot of people that have been saying this recently on the Code 2 matches, at least that I've seen. And it's hilarious just because, again, I have a list right here of just Asha, PFC, and Coez, and a bunch of other people. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know like, well, where this thought process is like, oh, if you play from X country, you're terrible. When in actuality, again, those people are easily the best. But point is, they'll usually blame someone, and I bring that up just because it's usually someone who they can't understand or from a different country, and usually they'll identify that based on the user's name, and then they'll start blaming them. Oh, I don't speak Spanish. This person's obviously keeping me down, or I can't speak German, or whatever. And they'll say that's the reason for it. Let alone you look at the game and they thought the Sturm Tiger would be great to be snared and then hit by 3 AT sources. Sorry, the Sturm Tiger was OP, got slightly nerfed, but that doesn't change the fact that the Sturm Tiger is still vulnerable. So as soon as that person dies, they leave and then blame their team in my chat. They literally popped into my chat and started blaming their teammate. But then if you look at the game, while the guy had frontline infantry, the other guy was support mid, and healing up his stuff when he possible. Sure, he threw away a Flamehead, I'm not going to deny that, but his specific Firestorm ability wrecked my support equipment, and his 3 support guns were so costly for my men and for my team that we literally thought about abandoning our front, and we were the only side still holding after mid and the right side on Red Ball Express collapsed. That's how much pressure that guy was. It wasn't the Obelsodat and the OKW player was throwing at us. It was the one player support guns, the other OKW support guns that were literally driving us batty, and we just couldn't deal with it. And while we did have some bulk squads with MP40s, specifically the support guns were killing everything with their flame barrages and making us really reconsider about focusing somewhere else. Like we were on the breaking point before the guy threw the Sturm Tiger and just utterly like fell apart. And that's because in his mindset, he wanted a teammate that wanted more frontline infantry, really forward facing, whereas teammate was going a strategy of, hey, I'm going to have Sturms to heal your men, I'm going to try to support mid to grab the munitions and the star and help my team. And since we are the front that is not necessarily winning our side because these guys are actually entrenched, I'm going to get 3 support guns and help you. Now again, I'm going to make the assumption that he couldn't verbalize that in chat, because either A, he didn't immediately want to, B, he saw the guy was a toxic asshole and he didn't want to really communicate, or C, he just didn't know English. And I also just want to point out the fact, like, even if you can communicate, some people just don't want to because they just don't want to stir the pot. There's a lot of times where I'll be like, man, I want to play, let's say, Hearts of Iron 4. Let me go join a random game. And then I just get blasted by a bunch of idiots screaming the N-word. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm good. Because I don't want to go out there and listen to that repulsive shit. I just want to play Hearts of Iron 4 with a good group of people. But that's sometimes hard to find. I bring this up just because of the fact that literally stops me from playing the game and will just make me, okay, if I'm doing this, I'm just muting everyone and doing my own thing because I just don't want to listen to other people. Again, with all that said, you're like, okay, what's the point in all this? I bring this up just because of the fact that I feel like, and again, I'm not going to change the Kochi community. I know that the process to report people who are vitriolic is asinine at best because you literally have to do a third-party report system to let Relic know, hey, this guy's being an asshole. Like, that's not fun. That's not interesting. And I also know that trying to move your units around and then type in chat what you want to do, focusing on chat, again, that's me. Again, if you are a whiz and can do everything at once, fantastic. But could get your units killed. I understand that. It's a little bit harder. Just like, for example, you could cook food at your house, but you're like, that requires a lot of work. What if I just order DoorDash? That's a lot easier. And typically the easier solution, or the silent solution in some cases of not talking, people just want to do. But then they themselves get frustrated because they're like, my team is not synced up 100%. What's the end game? What's the final result of everything I just brought up? Well, first off, I maybe just type to the guy being like, hey, what's your current strategy? What's the plan? How can I help things out? That might relieve stress for yourself and your team, being like, okay, this person's not being an asshole. This is what my strategy is. Does it help yours? And yes, the guy might have a bad strategy, but you could be like, I can work with this because we can do X, Y, and Z, right? Triple support guns counter would be like Katyushas, artillery barrage, stuff like that. But if the enemy can't see it or has good protection, then those support guns can do the work. If the guy, instead of charging his Storm Tiger thinking I must lead an assault, if he went defensive and waited for us to push forward, immediately catch us out in the open with the Storm Tiger, our infantry's already weak. Like, we're forced it to advance into that section to kill the support guns. But no, he didn't. He didn't look at the battlefield situation. He didn't talk to his team, and he decided to go offensive instead of defensive. So I think the best thing is just trying to reach out, trying to communicate, and even if it is not ideal or shows you that you're vulnerable, I don't think it's a bad idea, and I feel like most people will be better for it. I just bring this up because I feel like sometimes people need to hear this, or might be a good idea to pass along, be like, it's okay. It's like you see a situation, you're like, man, I'm not doing well, and look, to be fair, you could also be an asshole, and you could also just be not playing well, and then you take it on others. But if you are someone who's just randomly solo queuing, like a lot of people do in the CO2 community, and your teammate's doing something, you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna try something. I don't think it's that hard. I think it's better than nothing in order to try to reach out to help someone, rather than sitting in your own stew and stress and then just building up and then breaking down and then regretting something you type in chat. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Again, a lot of it I know, but hey, I wanted to kind of discuss something a little bit different. And I feel like this is something a little more unique. But hey, what are your thoughts on random teams and essentially maybe the lack of communication, or maybe even the toxic community? And again, if you do have someone that's toxic in your game that's calling you any sort of specific words or degrading you because of how you speak or anything along those lines, save the replay and send to Relic. I'll leave that down below for their support email, so that way if you have recently come across someone with bad communication, you can report them. But here, I'm just trying to speak good things and hopefully let people know about positivity and good communication in order to maybe better their CO2 games and other games. Again, I don't think it's that hard. I get that some games you can't exactly immediately type to, but I feel like since we're on PC, it's a lot easier than console. But hey, this has been greyshot17, and I'll see all of you guys next time. Hey guys, before you go, let me give a special shout out to Aphyria, Folkvard, Joey G240, Balam, Ace, Tony B, Ion, Little Koosh, Samuel McKinney, Seth Coopers, and Jacob Oswald. Thank you guys so much for your awesome support and generosity. If you guys want additional content, check out the links above. Otherwise, I'll see all of you next time.